we'll have presentations as is indicated on our program. That will go on up to 13:30 hours, whereby we will return to the plenary session, where we'll be going through way forward and closing of the conference. It is my hope that we will have very, very enriching discussions through the day, as was yesterday. So having said that, I will wish that we go to the first presentation of the day.
Prof, are you looking for me?
No, a moment. Yes, a moment for something. Then we'll get to you. So members, our key note speaker this morning is Bernard William Chitunga. Bernard William Chitunga is an officer at African Development, in charge of partnerships, donors, special projects, affirmative financial action for women in Africa at the African Development Bank. Bernard is one of the youngest career diplomats at the bank. He is a senior officer, a task manager on affirmative finance action for women in Africa, AFAWA. And under AFAWA, Bernard is in charge of projects and finance, the first one being USD 250 million risk share mechanism, USD 100 million gender equality trust fund, and USD 61.8 women entrepreneur finance initiatives. Members, you can appreciate what that means. A young person who is almost the age of our young scholars here, and how much he is in charge of at Africa Development Bank. Bernard holds 2 master's degrees and is currently a doctoral candidate at advanced stage of his doctoral degree. Before joining Africa Development Bank, he has served in various organizations at managerial levels. He served as an agribusiness finance specialist at Chase Bank in Kenya. He also served as an agribusiness finance specialist at Barclays Bank in Kenya. Very important for us to note, he started his career at the Cooperative University of Kenya in one of the sections of the university. So Bernard, we are so proud to listen to you this morning as you share with us on a very important topic relevant to us and relevant to this conference, that is inclusivity and inclusive economy. So members, let us welcome Bernard, those of us who are here. So Bernard, karibu sana, karibu sana.
Thank you so much, Professor Oboka. for that incredible welcome. Greetings from here in Dubai. It's very hot here, and I look forward to the conversations. The better part of yesterday followed what was happening, and indeed it was a very enriching conversations. And thank you for this wonderful fifth CUCK fifth conference. You know, in June 2011, 2 months after I had completed my undergraduate studies, I attended an interview on a role that had been advertised in the dailies, an assistant program officer. And walking into the interview room, and my adrenaline was taking toll on me, a motherly voice, so kind and generous, made me to relax. The room had 2 ladies and several men. I can't remember the number of men, but I'm clear that the room had 2 women. That voice that made me to relax was of Professor Esther Gisheru, who was then the chair of the Council of ATC and the principal of the then Cooperative College. So ladies and gentlemen, it's very nostalgic to be back home, albeit virtually. CUCK, as Professor Oboka put it, is where my career started, just 10 years ago. And you realize how short 10 years is and how much 10 years can change in a life of a human being. So in July 2011, I joined ATC, of course, then the University Commercial Arm, under the leadership of the other lady who was in the room, Miss Ansieta Mwiti. And I will always forever be grateful to that institution, the Cooperative University of Kenya, and to the 2 impeccable leaders who gave me an opportunity and mentored me. I was young, I was naive from Western Kenya. But in the words of Mr. Waruinge, who was also in the room then, after my interview, I was full of passion. My 2 years and 7 months at that institution really gave me a foundation to be able to serve this continent. And to my colleagues and friends, most whom I have seen have joined this very important conversation, and all the delegates of this important conference, thank you for having me this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, working for the Africa Development Bank gives a huge privilege to see Africa from a vantage point. The 2020 economic outlook showed that the continent economies were growing well, higher than the global average. In fact, the report projected a steady rise in growth in Africa from 3.4% in 2019 to 3.9% in 2020. In fact, 2021 was projected to grow at 4.1%. And therefore, at that point, Africa economies were growing strongly. But the question on everyone's mind, everyone pundit and those who love Africa and who care about our continent was, why are the needs of the continent's very poor citizens not met? According to that report, the figures do not tell the whole story. Across our continent, across our country, Kenya, the poor are not seeing enough of the benefits of the robust growth. Relatively, few African countries posted significant declines in extreme poverty and inequality, which remain higher in other regions of the world. In fact, inclusive growth occurred in only 18 of 48 Africa countries. And as we all acknowledge, growth must be visible, it must be equitable, the lives of people. And the truth is, as I mentioned those figures and preface the conversation this morning, nobody, and all of us here, I hope we have taken some breakfast. Nobody eats GDP. And this was a story before the World Health Organization announced the COVID pandemic. And when COVID pandemic was announced it came and erased many efforts that made our continent to be projected on this positive trajectory. Following that, the onset of the pandemic, Africa experienced its worst recession in half a century in 2020. Kenya is not an exception. GDP contracted by 2.1%, in contrast to the 4.1% growth rate that had been projected before the crisis that I just mentioned before. This year, the Africa economic growth is forecast to recover at 3.4%, but with conditions, and these are the conditions. Equitable access to COVID-19 therapeutics and vaccines. I'm sure all of us are talking about vaccines. 2 weeks ago, I got my second shot of Pfizer in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire. I'm not sure how many of us have gotten the vaccines. And so as economies sit and various institutions sit and governments to project Africa economic growth recovery at 3.4%, it is very conditional that vaccines and various COVID-19 pandemic therapeutics must be accessed equitably. COVID must not become a third world problem or an African problem. And we must have a sustainable resolution to Africa growing debt burden. That is what will make Africa to return to that positive trajectory. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, that is not what I want to talk about. I want to invite us for us to go achieve what must go to the basics. To those of us who are gathered here today and are Christians, and have had a moment to listen to a priest, to listen to a father, to listen to a bishop, a reverend, a pastor, or personally you have perused the good book. You remember when Jesus was on the cross. And in Christianity, that is in the epicle of salvation. One of the instructions he gave to one of the beloved disciples, in fact, he's referred to as the beloved disciple, the youngest of the disciples. In fact, he was the only one who was remaining at the cross. The others had disappeared. John, he gave him an instruction to take care of his mother, a woman. So today, as we engage on inclusive economies, I want us to share with us inclusivity from the gender angle. To me, Africa has no gender problem. And this is what I mean, that Africa has no gender problem. When you go to any room where they have put a conversation on gender in Africa, and I've had a privilege to be in several for the last 4 years I've served at the bank, you will not hear people talking about male and female, because gender is male and female. You will hear people talking about female. And so to me, the Africa problem is it has a women problem. And that is what I want to talk about this morning. Women are not just the future of Africa. Women are the present of Africa. And investing in women in Africa is a great investment. Smart people invest in women. Smart economies invest in women. Without women, listen to me, friends, without women, there would be no world. Yet, after giving birth to the world marginalizes women. They are told they matter less than men. They are told they are riskier to access finance. They are discriminated against when it comes to property rights. They are told they can't inherit their spouse's land